Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our August West Perth Council meeting. We do have Doug Feltz is away at the meeting tonight, and Councillor Andrew Fournier is online, and I will try and catch him online. Sometimes I don't always see him, so we'll try and catch that as we go. Just before we get started, I would ask council and our guests this evening, if they so wish, that we'll bow our heads for a moment of silent reflection. Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll call the meeting to order. There's going to be a few changes. We do have a fairly lengthy council meeting here tonight, and we're going to mix things up a little bit. We do have a closed session, and we wanted to have the closed session earlier on in the meeting as opposed to later on. So we're going to go through the agenda, and if you follow along, we have closed session as agenda item number 7. We're going to skip that, and we're going to go to agenda item number 8, and we're going to do 8.1, 8.2, 8.22, 8.23, and then we will go for the closed session. So it kind of gets the drains and what people have come for out of the road so that they don't necessarily have to stay if they don't want to. So with that in mind, those are the changes that we've made, I think, James. So a motion to confirm the agenda. As I did mention, we have a closed session, and it is to deal with legal updates, property matter, various property matters that we've had for the last little while. So, yeah, a motion to accept the agenda as amended. Councillor Rose, Councillor O'Donnell, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda? Councillor O'Donnell?
I have a conflict on item number 9.4.
Okay, so noted. All right. Okay, that brings us down to moving on here. We do have a delegation. We have Paul Seebach, our auditor, I guess, from Seebach and Company. And I would ask Paul to come up and give us the good news. And I'll just turn the floor over to you.
Thank you very much. Very nice to be here. When we go through everything, mostly is good news. Our report are the full audited financial statements. And then we also provide a 2-page report for council that has a little more information. When we did the audit this year, it was all on site. We did the interim audit in October and the final audit first week of March. We received complete cooperation from Wendy Monique and all the other departments. We try to visit everybody, and we were given access to everything. So we really appreciate all the cooperation and Wendy's effort to get the statements done. After completing our audit, our auditor's report in the financial statements show a clean audit report and states the financial statements present fairly the financial position of the municipality. At the end of the audit, it seems standard, but things don't always go good. But we can report we did not find any unusual transactions or significant matters to bring to your attention. As council, no outstanding issues at the end of the council, and as I said, received complete cooperation. A little bit when we do the audited consolidated financial statements, the things that are consolidated are the BIA and the library board 100%. And your share of the ERTH 6.25%. When we look at the financial statements, the first number that jumps out at you is the surplus, $4,257,000. I think every year I try to explain why when we take our surplus and we're obligated to use provincial standards, PSAB accounting standards, and they just treat our statements on more accrual basis, where when you do your budget, it's more, you're trying to raise cash for your capital project, debt payments and things like that, reserve transfers. So when we look more on that basis, Wendy's report that she had provided earlier shows a surplus of 348,000. So it's important to realize, you know, you did have a surplus on this way, 4.4, but when you look at how your budget is presented, it's quite a bit less. The big item there is capital. You guys, when you do your budget, you raise money to expense your capital, where we set that up and depreciate it. We only expense the interest on your debt payments, where you have to raise money to pay the actual principal payments. So that's 425,000. And at the end, we show reserve funds as a part of the surplus, but we don't show ins and outs as income or expenses. So this year you transfer 2.2 million, almost 2.3 million to reserves. So you have to take that off the 4.4 because we don't show that as an expense. As I said, we use the same, very same information. It's just presented differently with policies. Consolidated statements are important because the statements and the FIR are presented to the province, and that's how they see your financial statements. Some other key points. You spent 3.3 million on capital. You had budget, or last year was 5.8. You had budgeted 6.1, but there's quite a few projects not finished. Some vehicles not purchased. In Wendy's report, that's summarized. At the end of the year, your debt was 6,372,000, down from 6.8 million. So you paid down 425,000 of regular debt payments. There were no new loans, and you completed payments on a loan for the pumping station. Also, as Wendy provides a debt repayment calculation by the province, you're allowed to have debt repayments 25% of your revenue, and at the end of last year, you're at 11% of that, so you're well within that. At the end of another key part, end of the year, your reserves were 24,800,000. They were up 2.3 million. Part of that was because you didn't do all the capital, so you didn't transfer the money to pay for the capital. You had budgeted to have a 21.5 million in reserves, so you finished higher there. You also have some gas tax funding you received but didn't spend at the end of the year, 97,000, and a provincial roads grant of 136,000 that weren't spent. What that all means is, so you didn't do all your capital. When we look at the financial position, you have, you know, more money in the bank and higher reserves, etc. So the page titled Report to Council, Financial Indicators, it's basically your income statement, or sorry, your balance sheet as of December 31st. First thing you notice, the bank is up a fair bit. Part of that is because of the surplus, and part of that is payables are lower, things of that nature. So the balance for your bank was 24.3 million, 15.6 million of that's in your general bank. You have all your water and waste reserve funds of almost 7 million, and all the other reserve funds accounts of 1.6 million. So that's the 24.3 million in the bank. Taxes receivable, you did a good job of collecting taxes. It's down to 2.7% of the total taxes. And of the 933,600 is current, so that's good. The more taxes you collect, the more money you have in the bank. Accounts receivable are similar to last year. Long-term receivables a little higher. There was more municipal drain work that wasn't billed at the end of the year, 961,000 versus 495,000 last. Investments, you did change your investments during the year. There was an earned gain there when you transferred the investments of 1,250,000. A lot of those investments are wastewater reserve investments. The investment in the government business enterprise is your investments in the ERTH utility. It's made up of note receivable shares and your share of retained earnings, and that's 5,044,000. Your shares are valued at cost, so they don't reflect the true value of the utility, just your initial cost. So total assets, current assets, almost $42 million. things you owed at the end of the year. The payables are lower. There were some development charges that were paid down, so payables are down 1.2 million. Deferred revenue, those are 2 million, up from 1.8 million. We've talked about that. A lot of that is the gas tax and the unspent road grant. There's the landfill closure expenditure that we have to set up to reflect the future cost of closing your landfill site. And some of the older buildings, that's 3,095,000, up 50,000 from last year. And then the municipal debt of the 6.4, we talked about that. So the difference between your current assets and current liabilities is 26.4 million. The important thing there is that because you didn't do all your capital, that's up 5.3 million. So you have more money just to spend for the current and future operations. Capital assets, and in the year, your book value 103 million. Then there's some prepaid expenses, which is basically insurance and some inventory items. 106,000 land inventory for sale. That's at costs, so there's no change there. It didn't sell anything. 4.5 million. So when you take the net financial assets and the 134 million, that's your surplus of 134,529,000, and that's up to 4.2 million of your surplus. Are there any questions on the balance sheet? The next statement is your financial statement. It has the budget and 5 years of comparatives. The Canada Community Building Fund is the old federal gas tax. You did use some, 285,000. The CEF grant, you received 1.1 million. Didn't spend it all, so you deferred 258,000. Some other grants. The other grants are other municipalities. It's lower, 38,000. The Provincial Offences Act funding was lower. The other government grants, 780,000. That's a little higher. That's the library, the drainage superintendent, preventing auto thefts grant, and then we get to other income. When we looked at investment income, that's higher than budgeted and higher than the year before, the 3 million. A large part of that is the gain when you transferred your investments for the wastewater reserves, $1.2 million there again. So total revenue, 25.6 million, higher than was budgeted. But a lot of that is your investment income and some grants. Your expenditures, policing was higher than budgeted, but you received a grant for victim services, so that 115,000 is in there, so that is higher than budgeted. Planning and development is higher than budgeted, 311,000 versus 191,000. That's the interest. There's interest there on long-term debt. So when you take the revenue minus the total expenses of 21.4 million, comes back to your surplus of 4.2 million. Year before, 3.3. As far as the financial statements, the very second page is the auditor's report. As I talked about it, it's a clean audit report. Note number 6 is your investment in government business enterprise. It shows the investment of 5 million. And as I said, the shares are all at cost. Note number 8 explains asset retirement obligations. That's the landfill cost we have to set up. Note number 9 shows municipal debt, and that paid down 425,000. And it also shows that the loan for the pumping station has been repaid. Over 117,000 was paid off. So that frees up some capital for that department. There is a whole page on reserves. It shows how the reserves went from 22.6 million to 24.8 million. As I said, that might have been lower per your budget, but because of some department surpluses, you didn't spend all the capital, you ended up 2.2 million higher. Deferred revenue schedule of 2,091,000. That shows a lot of that development charges. And a lot of it is the gas tax, and the other deferred is the provincial road grant that wasn't all spent. At the very end of our statements, there's the trust fund. And that's basically money set aside for cemetery maintenance and purposes. So in closing, I would say that, you did finish the year with 4.2 million. And a lot of that's because you didn't do all your capital on a more cash basis. The surplus was 348,000. You did increase your financial position. I mentioned the 5.3 million. You were able to complete all your 2025 capital without borrowing. This sets you in a, the end of this year sets you in a position to have a large capital budget for this year. And once again, I'd like to thank Wendy and her department for all her cooperation. Are there any questions?
Okay, questions for Paul? No, no questions? Okay, well, thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate you coming this evening and giving us the good news, relatively good news. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. And I hope you have a good year this year. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so do I. Okay, at this, oh, sorry, question, Councillor Duck.
Actually, sorry, I was making my notes there. We did the pecuniary interest. Can I declare for 9.4 as well? I just wanted to make that note now before we got a little carried away. Sorry about that. and
Okay,
Thank you.
no, that's fine. So noted. Yeah, yep. So you got that, James? Yep, yep. Okay, no, that's good. That's good. Okay, Wendy, do you want to come up and introduce Lorraine here? Lauren? Sorry.
So this is Lauren Tam. She's here on a 12-month contract to fill in the position of deputy treasurer. So with that, I'll introduce Lauren to you. She's going to have a few words to share.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to work here. When I saw the job posting, I thought it was a great opportunity to learn more in the municipal world. I've been here almost a month now, and I've really enjoyed my time here, and I'm really looking forward to the next year of being here.
So you're not going to mention who your dad is?
My dad's Mike. He was on council for 16 years, I think, so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Good. Well, thank you very much. And I thought it was appropriate right after we did the auditor statement to bring you up and introduce you. So thank you and welcome. And you're welcome to stay as long as you want, but you don't have to stay through the whole night.
Thanks.
Okay, very good. Okay, we could probably do the consent agenda, couldn't we? Yeah, I think we'll do the consent agenda here. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes. Recommendation here that the Council Municipality of West Perth receives the 2025 audit prepared by Seabach and Company as presented. So we have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Duck, Councillor Harold. Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, the consent agenda is there. There's 13 items on the consent agenda. Is there anything there that anybody wants clarification on or would like pulled and dealt with separately?
Maybe some clarification on 6.6. I was just curious if we ever used pesticides in our parks prior to the ban.
Prior to?
Yes.
Oh,
Is that a next question?
Nick, I don't know if, I don't think you can answer that if
No.
you used them prior to. We can look into that and report back, but I'd assume so, but
I just feel like if we send a letter of support, I think spraying around our ballparks would be beneficial to make it look cleaner. Causing the grass to grow up through the gravel doesn't look very appealing, and I think it would just beautify the space a little bit better if we could spray.
So, do you want us to pull that and then move support for that? Okay. Okay, we can do that. That was 8.6. So, yeah, you pretty well explained what was in the resolution. So if you want to move that, do we have a seconder to deal with that? Take your pick. Deputy Mayor, support that. Any further discussion on that? Dan?
Just from an information standpoint, I'll just note it that regulation is 2009 regulation, so we'd be going back pretty far from a staff standpoint.
Yeah.
So,
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of that? Okay, those opposed? That's carried. Is there anything else anybody would like an explanation on or pulled separately?
Sometimes my hand's not noticed when I'm on Zoom,
Oh,
Mayor.
you're not noticed, Andrew. I'm sorry. But yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to restrict the number of things that I want to pull from here because I don't know if anyone else is reading this and thinking, oh God, Councillor Fournier is going to talk for a really long time. But 6.1 and 6.3 in particular, if you don't mind, emergency shelters serving women and children experiencing intimate partner violence. That is a rather urgent issue. I have several exes in my life who have experienced intimate partner violence from other partners, and I know from firsthand stories of what it's like trying to live in those environments with children. We need more spaces. We need spaces for longer. We need spaces for more types of events. So that one I straight up want pulled and supported. And also 6.3, the township of, let me see if I can even pronounce this, Alnwick and Haldimand. Apology to the British home children and child migrants and their families. This one, again, rather in particular, I actually have people in my own family who were orphaned and had their childhoods ruined by getting turned into laborers of both the farm work and housework variety and also used for other purposes. This happens to children. And the fact that our Prime Minister hasn't issued a formal apology while the Prime Minister of Great Britain and the Prime Minister of Australia has strikes me as just intolerable. There's not even very many of them left alive in our country, and 1,000 of them died in the First World War after being abducted from their own families and stuck with new families here who used them for stuff. I want that one in particular pulled for support. Thank you.
Okay, we will deal with those two first, and then we'll go back to the consent agenda. So item 6.1, emergency shelters. I take it that Councillor Fournier, you will move that.
Very much so. Thank you.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion to support that resolution? Councillor Duck will second that. Any further discussion on that particular motion? You got your hand up? Yeah, go
so
ahead.
I was just for the record, I was just gonna just make it known that council's previously declared IPV an epidemic around this table, so just giving you that context here, that's all. Who?
That's one of the reasons why I mentioned it, because we already have supported things like this motion.
Okay, so we have supported this. Are very similar. Okay. All right. So we have done it in the past. So it's moved and seconded. If there's no further questions on it, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed, if any? That is carried. Moving to 6.3 then, apology to the British home children and child migrants and their families. Again, Councillor Fournier, you will move that, I take it?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and
Okay.
provide extra explanation if necessary.
Yep. Do we have a seconder for that motion to support that resolution? Do we have a seconder? Councillor Duck is going to second that. Okay. Is there anything further you want to add, Andrew, to that before we take a vote here?
Canada has too long a history on many different fronts of not being very nice to kids that we don't view as one of us. And what happened to some of these occasionally baby children? And you have to understand that during this program, that the actual orphans who are being taken from workhouses and sent here, bonuses were not paid to the organizations that took them from those workhouses. Bonuses were paid for children who might actually have living parents. Poor parents parents who could not provide for them, granted, but that's more a case of the social services available in the United Kingdom at the time. And instead of addressing their own issues, Britain sold these children to families in Canada to work as farm laborers and house servants. Now, that's not every case, and I'm sure sometimes it worked out better than that. But in enough cases that it's historically significant, it didn't. We should not accept being the recipients of sold children, whether now or in the past. And if we did so in the past, we should hurry up and say sorry.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody? Okay, so the support has been duly moved and seconded. All those in favor of supporting this resolution? Now, put your hands up, don't be afraid. Opposed to this resolution? The motion is lost. All right, then a motion that we accept the consent agenda with the exception of 6.1, 6.3, and 6.6. So in other words, from 6.2, 6.4, all the way 6.5, and then all the way from 6.7 to 6.13 would be in order. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Rose, seconded by Councillor Foster. Any questions on any of them? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. All right, brings us down to, we're moving to agenda item number 8. And the planning department, we have an item here with regards to B1926, and we have Haley, I believe, with us, is going to walk us through this one. It's with regards to a consent application. And as I said, the file number is B1926. So Haley, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The application before you this evening is for a proposal for a surplus farm dwelling severance located at 5302, line 29 in the municipality of West Perth. The subject application proposes to sever a surplus farm dwelling lot resulting in a farm consolidation. The severed lands contain an existing dwelling, a detached garage, septic, and well. The retained lands are vacant of any buildings or structures. Additionally, the application proposes to establish an easement for hydro located on the severed lands in favor of the retained lands. The easement is proposed to be 4.48 meters wide by 6.34 meters long. A condition of the consent has been included that will impose restrictions on future permitted uses of the severed and retained lots through an adoption of a required zoning bylaw amendment. The condition requiring the ZBA has been recommended to satisfy the requirements of the 2024 PPS and the County of Perth official plan. Staff are supportive of the proposed severance and are of the opinion that the application is consistent with the Provincial Planning Statement 2024 and conforms with the County of Perth official plan, subject to the recommended conditions of consent approval being fulfilled. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions with regards to this recommendation? Don't see any hands going up. So we do have a resolution here. The recommendation is that the Council Municipality of West Perth recommends that the County of Perth Land Division Committee approve consent application B1926 and that Council forward the conditions listed in the staff report dated August the 10th, 2026 to the County of Perth Land Division Committee for the property known as 5302 line 29 in the municipality of West Perth. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor and a seconder, Councillor Harold. Last call for questions. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Thank you, Haley. Okay, moving on then brings us down to a couple drain reports. The first one is the Morello Municipal Drain and consideration of the engineer's report. And we do have Chris Dietrich with us tonight. And Chris, I'll turn the floor over to you and you can walk us through that report.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie and Council.
The first project that I'm here to present is the Morello Municipal Drain. This takes place within the town of Mitchell city limits, and it's basically an enclosure of an existing municipal drain. Some history on this Morello drain. It was originally constructed under a report prepared by Dodson and Johnson Consulting Engineers that provided for the construction of the main drain open, the main drain closed, branch A and branch B. All closed tile drains were designed to a 5-year storm. This drain was updated in 1999 under a report prepared by Johnson Engineering Consultants that provided for the clean out of 272 meters of open ditch and the installation of 3 culvert crossings. And finally, a portion of the main drain closed was realigned under a report by RJ Burnside and Associates Limited in 2000 and, well, I don't have the date on that here. Might be. Regardless, it was realigned. We held an information for this enclosure back in November of this year, and it wasn't basically taken very well. So we were proposing to enclose the drain from where the main drain closed is all the way down in the Gaffney Industrial Holdings property, which is shown as number 1 on your plans, or sorry, number 1. This option was a little too expensive for the owners. So this report that we're presenting here today includes basically we're enclosing 68 meters of open ditch across lot 15 as shown on our plan. Then it crosses Ellen Street where it outlets into the existing open drain. We also plan on cleaning out 62 meters of the existing open drain and remove 1 750 millimeter diameter corrugated metal pipe. Our drain will consist of 750 millimeter diameter to 900 millimeter diameter plastic HDPE pipes and is designed to handle the 100-year storm event. We've estimated the total cost of this work at $115,600. And I'm open to answering any questions from council.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Questions? Councillor Brink?
Mayor McKenzie, Chris, you mentioned that your first proposal wasn't too applicable to the property owners, and the revised proposal that you made, the majority of landowners are on side with that proposal that you're bringing forward tonight.
There's one sitting in the audience that may have some objections to this. I would let him speak for himself, though.
Other questions from council? Is there a ratepayer that does wish to add some comments?
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. Council, my name is Jason Haskett. I am the owner of Lewis McNichol Trucking. For the last 25 years, I've been the largest proponent of the work that Chris is proposing here tonight. And if you'd asked me a month ago, I was on board. But situations change. And even though in this report, my property receives the most benefit from the drain being closed, it also receives the most cost. And at this particular time, I'm not certain that I'm prepared to carry that cost. All I ask is that you keep that in mind when you make your decision tonight.
Okay, fair enough. Any other comments or questions with regards to this drain now? Bill?
Through the mayor, who asked for this drain to be closed in, and can we start on the south side of that road to close it in?
I don't recommend that at all. Well, basically, it's only enclosing through one property and a road. There's already a culvert under the road, so I would recommend that if we're not closing it through the McNichol Trucking Incorporated property, that we do something else. Like, just basically maybe scrap the report or something of that nature. And then we're dealing with our 78 costs. It was originally, originally signed section 78 form, which is improvements to an existing drain, by DNR Pole Holdings. We held that information meeting and they were vehemently opposed to what we were presenting. We had to design it to a 100-year storm to meet the Conservation Authority, what they're asking for. And basically we do have all our approvals from the Conservation Authority and the Department of Fisheries and Oceans.
Other questions? So just to clarify, Chris, this doesn't happen very often.
No.
But you're kind of recommending that we don't accept this report?
Well, that would be up to the McNichol property.
Oh, okay, so we.
Yeah, we're presenting our report as written.
Okay,
So it would be up to council to pass or not pass.
I'm looking at James here, so we may have to tweak the resolution here a little bit, will we?
Yeah.
I guess we need some input from council how they want to proceed here as much as anything. And I'm looking for. Go ahead.
Mayor McKenzie, when we're working together as a team to work on drainage works, I think as a council that we're looking to all of the properties in that watershed, just like we're doing in agriculture. Yes, sometimes the cost is felt that it's exorbitant, but we are making improvements to the watershed. So I think as a council, we're looking at the whole watershed as a whole to make those improvements. If landowners are asking, and obviously when they petitioned for that drainage work, they were asking. And it's maybe just come down to the cost portion, but I think out of other respect for other landowners, we should consider it as a whole project, whether it actually benefits the watershed or not.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas. Anybody else? Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mayor McKenzie. Just help me try and understand this, whether it's Chris or staff. So, a landowner, Mr. Pohl or somebody, by the last name of Pohl, submitted a section 78 request to close the open ditch. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. And at this time, are they still in favor of
They're not.
conducting that work?
They're not.
They're not? And did they give a written reason why or any kind of reason?
They have not. No, not in my knowledge. No.
But they've just said, no, we don't want to do it.
Correct.
Okay. And to date, only Mr. Haskett has provided a reason or an objection with a reason. Is that correct?
Yes,
You're-
initially at the information meeting, he wanted to go ahead, but at this time he does not.
Okay. And at the time of the information meeting, Mr. Pohl did not want to,
Mr. Pohl did not attend the information meeting,
right?
and it wasn't until a later date that they called and said, we're not in favor of these costs.
And do we know how much in costs have been incurred to date? Right now,
Well, we obviously have prepared this report. This includes us going to the Court of Revision if necessary.
I'm just looking for a rough
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, so it would be around $20,000 probably.
So we're already $20,000 into this work, and now the people that, at least one person who had petitioned it is now backed out of it. And
Correct.
We have a second.
And that was
letter.
the only signature on that 78 form.
Okay. All right, so I guess my question to staff is, are we able to defer any decision and get a staff report to try and confirm answers to the questions that I've got, that I made? Because right now, the municipality is on the hook for $20,000. And the municipality didn't ask for it, as I see it. So how do we resolve this? Because we've got a landowner that wanted something. Now they changed their mind. I guess that's their right to do that, but money's been spent here, so somebody's going to get a bill. So we got to sort this out somehow. Just refer these questions to staff for further clarification, please. Thank you.
Yes, I think James is quite prepared to answer that. I'm sure Chris could give us the options as
Yeah.
well.
So section 70 is a little tricky, how to distribute costs when reports aren't adopted. Typically it would be billed under the existing reports bylaw. So that would be the 1999 bylaw. Obviously, since then, things have changed as far as lots and what have you. But that would be the most fair thing to do. So whatever that maintenance clause says in the 1999 report is how you'd want to distribute those costs. And we can have a look and give you an exact number of what
Yeah.
we have into it.
No, okay. James, anything further?
No, I really don't have much to add. I think Chris has given you all the important information. I think I would just note that, you know, you've heard from the landowner with the lion's share of the assessment costs here this evening. So council has the option to receive this report for information, and Chris has spoken to how those costs would be distributed should things not proceed from here. Thank you.
Councillor Foster?
If we were to receive it for information at this time and not go forward with it, if this comes back in a few years, it would likely still be easily reused at the time? If the landowners change their mind and want to come back to it, like, is the report still valid for a few years, or how does that work?
It's a good question. I would have to look into that.
I think Chris is probably giving you a fair response, but anything could happen next year. Regulations could change, everything could change. So I think your line of thinking is likely correct, but that's not a guarantee, if that helps.
Councillor Vink?
So Mayor McKenzie, when I look across the watershed, like James said, Louis McNichol Trucking has more than 50% of the watershed, and then West Perth 10%, and Mitchell Duracell Properties roughly 10%, and then the Goddard Railway roughly another 10%. So I guess 60%, and then Goddard Railway another 10%, 70. So the rest of the property owners are each a very tenth, 100th of a percent on many of these properties. So there's not much value, I guess, in the drainage works. So I think I'm comfortable shelving the report based off of the value that if we don't need the value on the vast majority of the watershed, I'm comfortable shelving it because we have 50% plus us plus the Goddard Railway that another 10% that we could quite easily see that don't see the value tonight to go ahead with the drainage works.
Okay. I can't think of a other time that we've had this happen, but there's always a first time for everything, and it's maybe happened in the past. James?
Through the chair, may I ask one more question? Is it possible to do a reapportionment, Chris, on the existing watershed that's there for the purposes of more accurately determining a cost distribution that is reflective of today? Am I making sense with that question? And it's just a question of.
For sure. We probably could. I'm not saying definitively we can, but that would be another thing to look into. Because if we need to apportion, which should have been done the old 1999 report, then that can be done.
Yeah, like that would be the fairest way to do it, I would think, Chris, right? If we're not going to proceed any further.
That would be the fairest way to proceed, yeah. You would have a minor cost incurrence, again, on top of that, but just to be clear, yeah, you're looking at the watershed as it sits today, the property boundary, so it would reflect accurately for that cost. Just an option. So I think council can approve, council can receive for information, which in effect is doing nothing, so that kills it. Council could receive the report for information and direct, we can direct to do the reapportionment as well if you wish. Or if you want to see that come back, we can do that as well. Couple options.
Well, the other option is you go ahead with the report and then you appeal it to the drainage tribunal and they make a ruling on it. But the costs, I think, are indicative of what the cost is going to be. So, you know, they might shift it a bit, but basically those costs will be fairly accurate. Unless the odd time you tender it out and you get a quote coming back that is less than what the engineer's estimated. And that sometimes happens too, doesn't it? But
More so these days
yeah,
rather than years past, but for sure, they definitely, there's a lot of work out there for contractors and bids are coming in well below our estimates, but that's just
yeah.
me talking.
Okay, I want to kind of keep moving on here because we do have a fair bit to do tonight. So we've got several options here, as Dan has indicated. We can basically follow the suggested recommendation here and accept the report. You know, you could go as far as give it first and second reading. But then eventually, you know, we're going to end up at a dead end, I think. We can receive the report and that's it. And then the costs will be figured out and will be invoiced to the ratepayers involved. There was a third one.
Do the reapportionment so it's more reflective of the landowner.
We would do that anyways, wouldn't we, Dan?
Not necessarily. If you just don't.
Oh, okay.
We would use the 1999 value.
Okay, all right, yeah, okay. So those are our options. What would you like to see happen here?
Mayor McKenzie, I think we should receive the report and then essentially that's where it stops, but then use the 1999 apportionments to bill the costs that incurred.
Okay, yep, you'll move that. Do we have a seconder for
Yes.
that motion? Councillor Foster? Okay, do you just want to read that again to make sure everybody knows what we're voting on here? We were going to receive it.
Thank you through the chair. So at this time, the motion, as I understand it, is that council receive the report for information and that the cost for the preparation of the report and cost to date associated with the project be billed to the landowners in accordance with the most recent assessment schedule, which is 1999. Is that fair?
We're good? Okay. Any further discussion on that? Anything to add? Okay, all those in favor of that motion? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Okay. All right, the next one then is on our agenda is 8.2.2, and that's the Meyer Municipal Drain. And again, in consideration of the engineer's report. So Chris, the floor is yours yet.
Thank you again, Mayor McKenzie and council. I'm here again to present the Meyer Municipal Drain. This is a drain that was originally built in 1959, and basically it consisted of the main drain and a drain. That main drain consisted of 2,587 lineal feet of 6-inch or 150 millimeter to a 12-inch or 300 millimeter diameter tile. A drain under our report is to be abandoned. And as shown on the screen, that dark double blue line represents our watershed, and it consists of 34.7 hectares. You'll see some of the lots are drained out of this watershed, so they get a reduction in their outlet assessment. And basically, our new drain is represented by a yellow line there. So it consists of
633 meters of 300 millimeter diameter to 525 millimeter diameter concrete and plastic HDPE pipes. There will be one road crossing under line 49 with catch basins on both sides, as well as catch basins at property lines, one between, I guess that is, 32 and 33, and then the next would be between 33 and 34 of concession 13. There's one other catch basin to be installed, and that's downstream of the Yanzi property, which is part of lot 33, concession 13. This will be connected to the main drain via a junction box. And this drain outlets into the Gray Branch of the Northwest Municipal Drain. We've estimated the cost of work at $193,800. And at this time, I'm open to any questions from council.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Any questions from members of council? No hands going up. Okay. Do have a recommendation here that the council municipality of West Perth accepts the report dated June the 1st, 2026 from Dietrich Engineering Limited for the Meyer Municipal Drain, and that council provisionally adopt the engineer's report by giving first and second readings to bylaw number 51, 2026, and that the record of revision be scheduled for September the 8th of this year, 2026. Sorry. Oh, okay. Questions from any of the ratepayers? No, we're good? Go ahead. Yep, come on up. If you come up, we can hear you. That's better.
You just pop that mic on for him. Good evening here. This question might be a question for Chris. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if a question for council or not, but I noticed I looked at the first drawing that we met here and one that was mailed. I know it's a little bit different in design. Maybe you can comment on that, or is that a question outside of this?
Chris can answer, I'm sure.
So what happened at our information meeting is that we had the design in a different area. There was also farms that were drained out that we did not know of. So we've confirmed all of that information. We rerouted the outlet more so paralleling line 49 rather than going on an angle. We used to go on a southeasterly direction to the Gray Branch. So we shortened up the drain itself by 67 meters. So that affected the cost as well. So the land being drained out, which is shown on our plans, report plans, actually reduces the amount of acres that would be contributing to the drain. So they will no longer be assessed for or have the rights to connect to this drain in the future, but they were assessed for the water that may land on their property that would come this way.
So
I do have a follow-up question.
sure, go ahead.
Yeah. My follow-up question, I guess I noticed it went straight into the drain rather than an angle. I guess my question for Chris maybe is, will we get as much, I guess my land fills up with water quite a bit in the spring belt. I just want to make sure that we can get as much water going away as possible is my question with the change.
Yeah, so not mentioned is that this new municipal drain is designed to an 1.5 inch drainage coefficient or a 38 millimeter per 24 hour. So that's top-notch drain work these days. Sometimes landowners want more, so that extra design standard would be ungrantable. But in this case, we're meeting the limit of that drain. So we're going to have quite a lot of capacity in this new system.
Right, okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay. Any other questions from either council or ratepayers? Okay. I didn't do the recommendation, did I? We didn't get that far. We need a mover and a second. That's where we're at. Okay, so I read it out that we accept the report and that we give it first and second reading, and it would be bylaw 51 And then quarter revision will be held on September the 8th of this year. So do we have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Jankowski. And yeah, I was looking for our Logan reps here, but I don't have to. Councillor Duck, okay, thank you. Last call for questions. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.
And then we do have another section 78 here, branch A of the Russell drain. And James, I'll let you talk about that one.
Well, thank you through the chair. Yes, this request was received by the Ministry of Transportation, who's requesting to remove and relocate a manhole north of its current location. This is in connection with the Russelldale Roundabout project. And they need to remove and replace and upsize about 60 meters of piping. They have been in conversation with Chris throughout this project to answer a few questions and fill in some information on the existing drainage watershed out there. And accordingly, we're recommending in that case that council go ahead and appoint Chris from Dietrich Engineering as the engineer to prepare the section 78 report for this. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for James on that? Councillor Bing.
Mayor McKenzie, how do we get that done in a timely fashion for the roundabout to be completed when it's supposed to be completed?
Thanks through the chair, and that's a good question. I suppose I probably would push back a little bit if council recommended we look at a different engineer this evening, because I know Chris has had an opportunity to get work essentially underway with this project here. So although a report has not been prepared, nor has he been formally appointed, we're well on the way to seeing that report. So you'll probably see the section 78 report come back at either the next meeting or the meeting right thereafter. And the work that does need to happen can continue to happen while that report's being prepared. So hopefully that answers the question. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So the recommendation that we have here is that the Council Municipality of West Perth proceed with the request for the drain manager improvement to branch A of the Russell Municipal Drain, and that council pursuant to the Drainage Act appoint Chris Dietrich from Dietrich Engineering Limited as the drainage engineer on a date 30 days from the notice of Upper Thames Conservation Authority for the examination of the drainage works, and to proceed with the requirements of the proposed improvement under section 78. We have a mover and seconder for that. I'm kind of looking, okay, Councillor Duck. I thought maybe Councillor Foster or Harold would move. Councillor Harold, thank you. In case you haven't caught on now, I usually look to the ward where the drain is. Questions? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. We're going to deal with one more here. We have Jesse Britton here with us. So he's here because of the 8.8.2, the library memorandum of agreement. Sorry, it's understanding memorandum of agreement. Dan, I'll let you walk through that one, and then from there we'll go into the closed session.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And good evening, council. So before you tonight is an MOA, a memorandum of agreement between the West Perth Public Library and the municipality of West Perth. This is something that's been kind of on the to-do list for the municipality, and I think the library for, I don't know, quite some time, I'll say. We're there. We are all very happy with what we have. We think it really documents our relationship, which, as noted in the report, we're really looking to find efficiencies through partnerships amongst the two organizations, because the library is technically a legal separate entity. But as you saw tonight, it's part of our audit and et cetera. So we provide different services to them, and they provide different services to the community. I'm sure I don't need to go into full detail with all of you about what the library does, but the board has reviewed it, and as noted in the report, they haven't officially adopted it yet because they don't have a meeting, well, between, I guess, when they reviewed it and to date. So we thought we'd get it here first for any feedback from council. So I'll maybe stop there, and if there's any questions. And sorry, I should just add that we did slip in a schedule that to act as essentially as a lease agreement, because we also didn't have one of those with the library. So that was something we uncovered through this process.
Okay, Any questions on that memorandum of agreement? Don't see any hands going up. We're good, Jesse? Yeah. Okay, then the recommendation that we have here is the Council Municipality of West Perth approve the memorandum of agreement between the Municipality of West Perth and West Perth Public Library Board, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and seal all necessary documents. And that's moved by Councillor Fournier. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor O'Donnell. Last call for questions. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. So, thank you. Okay, now we're going to backtrack a little wee bit here. And gotta find the right page here again. So the recommendation that we have is that the Council of Municipality of West Perth proceed in closed session under section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended at 8 o'clock, right on the button, to address matters related to position plan, procedure, criteria for instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried out or to be carried out by or on behalf of the municipality. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, and legal update on a property matter, and a property matter with regards to an OLT appeal. Do we have a mover and seconder to go into closed session for that? So Deputy Mayor and Councillor Foster, all those in favor, opposed, if any, that's carried. Okay, we're back out of closed session and fairly, I guess, maybe a lengthy closed session, but we met in closed session to discuss the Heron Industrial Park, provide legal updates on property matters in Mitchell and in the Hibbert wards, an OLT appeal in the Logan ward, and some HR matters, and direction was given to staff to deal with that. So that was our closed session. Now, I gotta find out where we're at here, I think. Yep, 8.2.4, the OPP annual operating budget cost update, and James is gonna look after that for us.
Well, thank you, and through you, your worship, this report is being brought forward for information to provide council with a bit of an update on current OPP costs and some anticipated budget pressures ahead of the 2027 year. So during the preparation of our current year budget, we budgeted for approximately 1.88 million in OPP costs. Following the province's release of the final billing information, our costs were capped at approximately 1.97 million, which was an increase of about 91,000 over budget. Without that 11% cap, our services would have been closer to 2.24 million. It's important to note that the 11% cap was calculated excluding costs associated with our additional services agreement we have with the OPP. So the enhanced services that we receive in West Perth, those costs were not subject to the 11% cost cap, the 11% increase cap. So those increases do not have an 11% cap and did not have an 11% cap on them in 2026. All this to say, that's what led to your increase there. Looking ahead to 2027, our base allocation is approximately about that 2.24 million. So that's our cost without the 11% cap. That's what we need to plan for because we can't anticipate a similar cap to come forward in the 2027 year. We've been given no guarantee that there'll be any cap coming forward from the province at this time. And so this is really just information for you as council to be aware of that budget pressure that's coming forward. Happy for any questions.
Thanks, James. Any questions for James on that? No. Sorry, Dean, go ahead.
Yep, through you, Mr. Mayor. So is the OPP prepared to explain why the increase, like what's driving this? Can they explain that? Or can they come to a later date, come to this council perhaps and explain what's going on there?
I think through the chair, I know what I can say is the OPP Detachment Board has done some advocacy to the province around these increasing costs. I really can't say exactly the particulars of what go into those cost increases. We can certainly request more information from the province, but I know this is a pressure that all Ontario municipalities are facing and faced with. So when those increases come across the board, they come across the board for all Ontario municipalities and they apply to that standard contract. So Dan, and
I think James is correct. We can come back with more information, but looking back, there certainly was a new agreement signed on the labor side with OPP. So I think there's new collective agreements in place, and that's led to some of the increases as well.
Okay, other questions? Phil?
Just a quick question to the mayor. When they came in 2024, they laid out their 3-year financial plan, and those increases were nowhere near 11%. So I'm just wondering what changed in year to year to get that 11%. And with the enhanced at 400,000, what does that get you? And what was it looking like in 2004, for example, or 24? Sorry.
I'll address what I can from that. I might have to get back to you on the second piece or on your last question there. I'll say the 11%, that's a cap. So that was a cap that the province placed on saying that we will only charge you at most the 11% increase. It was more than that it went up. I haven't seen the 2024 year contracts, but I would anticipate that it's likely the former answer that the CAO just gave there. There's been new collective agreements and cost increases that weren't on the books in 2024 and now are. And again, we're at the mercy of those increases. Yeah.
A bit of clarity on enhanced is essentially what you're getting is you're getting a sergeant. So you have Sergeant Scott Love here in Mitchell, and you're getting a DAC which is a acronym for Department Administration. I don't know, clerk technician. I'll make something up there. I'm not quite sure on that one. And I think the other aspect that you get is if you have a major event in your municipality, you don't get a subsequent bill for the services. So if I know there's been some events in our past. If those, as we understand, happen in a municipality that doesn't have the enhanced services, then there's a bill for when those resources mobilize to that area. You're sort of paying insurance for that at this point.
I think the other thing, too, and maybe Steve can give me the number, but, I think it was in the Police Services Board. Is it 21 officers work out of that office right now? They don't all work in Mitchell, but it draws them and they work out of that office and around. So we do have a fairly large police presence for the size of our municipality.
That was disclosed, I think at last council or
Yeah.
not the one prior. but it was-
Somewhere I read that and I didn't realize it was anywhere near that high, but yeah. I answered, Phil? Yeah, okay. Okay. Any other questions on that? I'm gonna try and keep moving here. So we do have a recommendation that the Council Municipality of West Perth receives the Ontario Provincial Police Annual Operating Budget Cost Update Report for information. We will move in second for that. Moved by Councillor Harold, seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Next is our Director of Operations, the Industrial, Commercial, and Institutional Recycling Service Delivery Options. And Sean is here, going to Manager of the Environmental Services, and he's going to walk us through this one. So welcome.
Good evening, Mayor McKenzie and Council. So the point of this report is to provide Council with an overview of the upcoming changes to industrial, commercial, and institutional recycling services, and to seek Council direction on the municipality's preferred approach to providing ICI recycling collection services beginning in 2027. So recent regulatory changes have removed ICI recycling from the residential Blue Box program. As a result, the collection and processing of recycling generated by ICI properties no longer are covered under the Blue Box framework. So Blue Water Recycling Association, the BRA, established a dedicated ICI recycling collection system to ensure continued service for the remainder of this year. So BRA has absorbed the incremental costs associated with servicing ICI bins during 2026. So this was a temporary measure to support a smooth transition, minimize disruption, and for the municipality and business community, and then giving us time to determine an appropriate long-term service model. So effective January 1st, 2027, the BRA has advised that the annual cost for an ICI recycling wheelie bin will be $160 per bin per year. So currently there are approximately 250 bins within the municipality serviced by the BRA. So there are three options for the recycling collection service delivery for 2027. So our first option is to maintain the previous service model. We've continued to provide ICI recycling services and absorb the full cost of the service within the municipality. The disadvantage would be that the services would be paid through the municipal tax levy. So that would be, it'd be around $40,000 per year. The second option is to implement cost recovery through user fees. So under this option, municipalities would continue to offer, or West Perth would continue to offer recycling collection, but we would recover some or all of the associated costs from participating ICI properties through a user fee. And then the last option would be to discontinue services completely. And then the businesses, institutions, they would have to seek their own recycling collection services. So the big disadvantage there would be it would reduce recycling participation potentially and waste diversion from the landfill and from that whole sector. So we could see an increase in landfill disposal volumes. Staff is recommending option 2. So financially, as I said earlier, this would be a result of around $40,000 impact on our solid waste operations budget. And so currently, just in the residential Blue Box program, we're around $15,530 per year for just the residential recycling program. And that covers like urban and rural residents within the municipality. If council approves option 2, the municipality would establish a cost recovery mechanism to recover some or all of the annual service costs for the participating municipality or properties. The total financial impact would depend on whether council wishes to recover the full cost or only a portion thereof. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions on that? Alex, go ahead.
If we go ahead with option 2 at $160 for the wheelie bin, that's the like medium 240s or whatever the standard mediums are now.
Correct. Yes.
So that's effectively the same price as we are for that size of garbage bin. So wouldn't people be more inclined to buy a garbage bin and not have to care and just pack it all in? And then that's not going to divert it.
Yes, well, through the mayor, yeah, the hope would be that the commercial businesses would still want to recycle and not pack everything into the garbage.
Question that I have, so if we offer them the wheelie bin, and I'm thinking of some of the large users with a lot of cardboard, I guess I'm thinking maybe like a Gettler's in Dublin and maybe even the independent grocery store where they get a lot of stuff in cardboard boxes. They maybe already have a deal with an outfit that would have a bin that they would be putting this stuff in. So do they have to take a wheelie bin? Or if they decide they have a bin or want to use a bin, that would be what they would use?
Yeah, so Mayor McKenzie, so they may have their own separate contract with a waste management or
right. That's what I was thinking.
Right. They may. There are other commercial businesses that have several wheelie bins already here, so they would have to pay per wheelie bin. But if they wanted to go to have a separate avenue where they would have a different business come and provide a larger bin, then they would have to. That would be out of their own pocket.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be out of their own pocket no matter what. So they can opt out of our wheelie bin if they wish.
If they don't want that provided, then they can go a separate route, and then that'd be something that they'd have to do on their own.
Right, but they'd have to notify us first so that we knew what it was. And when we inform them of this, we maybe should indicate that to them. Like I'm thinking of the larger users anyways.
Yeah, so once we come up with a decision, then that'll be when we start doing notifying of our direction. Yeah,
that's good. Any other questions? Councilor Rose?
So this is just for commercial, this isn't residential?
Commercial and industrial, right?
And industrial, okay.
Institutional, industrial, commercial.
Thank you.
No. Anybody else? Okay, we do have a recommendation here. And I'm assuming this is the one we're going to use, that the Council of Municipality of West Perth approve option 2, implement cost recovery through user fees for industrial, commercial, and institutional ICI recycling collection services identified in the staff report. We have a mover and seconder for that. Deputy Mayor Tonkowski and seconded by Councilor Rose. Last call for questions, comments, Councilor
Mayor McKenzie. I think it'll be really important the communication after this decision. If we pass this resolution, that'll be very important.
Yeah, no, I agree. Any other questions? Okay, ready for the motion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have Director of Community Services with regards to the West Perth Youth Center and donations. So another good news story, Nick. Oh.
You left it on. Good evening, Mayor McKenzie and members of council. Before you is a report of a youth center donation in the amount of $8,500. We're bringing forward this recommendation to accept these donated funds for youth center equipment. The donations were generously received from the Lions Club of Moncton Camp Kids in the amount of $2,000, West Perth Community Singers in the amount of $1,500, and Osborne and Hibbert Mutual Fire Insurance Company in the amount of $5,000. All three donors have requested that that their contributions go to equipment that benefits the youth center users. Staff proposing the funds, proposed equipment includes a water bottle fill station, a mobile pool table, interactive game projector, a rock band game and instruments, as well as an arcade game cabinet. No additional funds is required where these donations cover the amount of all these donations. All the equipment will remain the property of us at the municipality once purchased and maintained by us as well. And staff will invite the donating organizations to a recognized event at our youth center to honor the donation once these have been purchased and installed in place. So again, as staff are recommending that we accept these donations and direct the usage towards youth center equipment. So if there's any questions, I can take them now.
Okay, questions for Nick on that? Don't see any hands going up, so very good. So we do have a recommendation here that West Perth accept donated funds totaling $8,500 and direct the treasurer to allocate the funds for the purchase of purpose of purchasing youth center equipment during the 2026 fiscal year. Moved by Councillor Harold, seconded by Councillor Rose. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thanks, Nick. Connecting link transfer, Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. Before council tonight, I'm seeking some direction on how to proceed. Essentially, I've landed at a crossroads and, as noted in the report, we've been kind of dealing with this matter since 2022. And really what it's boiled down to is that as the urban settlement boundary has changed and grown through the official plan, the municipality doesn't have jurisdiction within its quote unquote boundary anymore. And it's with MTO, and that leaves it problematic for us to try to address speeding through traditional means such as, changing speed limits, signage, and enforcement as well from a bylaw standpoint. I think I've laid out the events that have transpired quite well in the report. And the next step for us is to get a recommendation from council that we start to have some discussions with the MTO about extending the connecting link limits so they match our urban settlement boundary with our OPA. And I'm happy to have any questions.
Questions for Dan on that? Alex, go ahead.
What would the increased ongoing costs of maintaining that be, given how much it costs us to do the other part of our connecting link, because we can't do it in-house?
I don't know at this time. I don't know how much they'd be willing to part with, and I don't know the cost of those assets. So that's basically what we need direction. They won't sit down and have these discussions with us until we get this direction from council and have this motion.
Well, I think, I don't know whether we really need to buy the highway. I think if we can just get them, how this all started was speed signs, and we want to move them out, I would, I'm in favor of, what you're wanting, but I wonder if we shouldn't be copying after our meeting in Toronto. I think we would be able to copy our minister and Matt Ray as well. and just show them that it's taken since 1922 or 2022 rather, to try and put a speed sign. And I think the one that comes to mind obviously is the one out by West Perth Village, because of, you know, the long-term care facility there and the closeness to the schools. And it shouldn't be rocket science to do that, you know? So I don't know if anybody else has any further comments, but we have issues there, and we have issues out at the east end as well, at that part. So the recommendation, if nobody has any other questions, the recommendation is that Municipality of West Perth supports discussions with the Ontario Ministry of Transportation regarding the potential transfer and designation of additional sections of Highway 23 and Highway 8 of the existing connecting link limits within the Municipality of West Perth to align with the settlement area boundary, and that the clerk be directed to prepare and submit formal correspondence respecting the proposed revision to the connecting link limits. So I have a mover and seconder for that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Trnkowski, seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. Any further discussion? Dean, sorry.
Hopefully this doesn't take another 4 years to happen because, yeah, you're right, Mayor McKenzie. It was a simple petition dealing with traffic speed concerns, and this has gone on too long. So happy to support this recommendation and happy to support staff in trying to get this figured out. Thanks.
Somebody have a question over here? No, no, we're good. Okay. Yeah, like I said previously, I don't know whether we need to buy the highway, but all we want is just to move it out a little bit and change the speed limit a bit. So, okay. Yeah, I will. Yep, I knew I hadn't do that yet. So all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. I never hurts to remind me. The next item then is 8.8.3, the Memorial Forest Playground, and Dan is going to talk to us on that one.
Yep, thank you. Kind of a report back item here. So council's seen this report before. We got direction at the last time to kind of bring back some information regarding that natural playground, as well as some accessibility features and some changes to the site plan. I don't have the site plan finalized at this point in time, but we've also been working with environmental stewardship at the county as well for some revisions there. But essentially we're here. We still think the Blue Imp is the way to go, based on what you can see from a natural standpoint, kind of the bang for your buck there. And we have added an accessible feature into the playground as well, and it hasn't had a large impact on the budget. So we're looking for a direction to kind of proceed ahead here. And yeah, happy to have any questions if there are.
Questions for Dan on that? I know we had it at a previous meeting, we talked about it, so we're good. Okay, so the recommendation here is that the Municipality of West Perth approve the Blue Imp playground design for the new Memorial Forest Playground, and that council will authorize staff to utilize 110,000 from the Parkland Reserve to utilize group buying procurement for the purchase of the Blue Imp playground, and that council directs staff to report back with a site plan and sponsorship agreement for their review. Mover and seconder for that, Councillor Duck. Is the Councillor Fournier still on? Yep, he's there. Would you like to second that, Andrew? Yep.
I've been seconding stuff all night. You just never see
Oh. Okay. Last call for questions. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Next item then is Ketterson Park Pavilion electrical repair and parking lot upgrades. Dan?
Thank you. This is a new one coming forward. So I believe council would have received some letters from the Agricultural Society. And following that, we had a meeting with the mayor and some staff with the Ag Society and wanted to unpack just kind of the content of the letters. Prior to that, we were aware. So essentially, I'll get into the pavilion, the electrical repairs right now. I didn't know what to call it, so repair seems like the most appropriate one. But essentially, all the plugs, receptacles are looped onto one breaker. So during the fair, the cattle dryers get plugged in, and they continuously trip that breaker. So what the request is for us to go in and essentially just repair that. So we've worked with our electrician here, and we think obviously adding another breaker into the line is going to repair that problem. So I will disclose, sorry, this report's changed a little bit, but I want to disclose that I authorized that through our existing budget to kind of find the 10 grand in there or not proceed with a project because we wanted to get it done before the fair. But I'm also bringing it here for council because I don't have authority to pull from a reserve. So we are recommending you pull from a reserve, but if not, I've certainly got a plan for this and I can report back to what that would be. But we wanted that done. And then the Ag Society is also looking at doing some paving in front of Crystal Palace. And based on quotes, we thought it would be a good idea if they're in their paving, maybe we should see what it costs to pave some of our unpaved parking lot. We've identified kind of the areas there that we think would be suitable for paving. At this point, we recommend just carrying forward with I'll say section B right now. And we showed kind of the Ag Society where we were looking at doing this, and they're in support of it as well. So that would be our main purpose. It just kind of cleans up the parking lot. It's not something that, was really part of the arena renovations or anything. It came to fruition through this ask and a bit of an idea that way, as well as they've requested, I believe they requested financial support to the cost of 30,000, and I got into this and into the report of kind of the history of that. Sorry, my computer just died. We had $5,000 carry forward that we put in a reserve from, I think, approximately 2 years ago. And then we're looking at providing an additional 5 in financial support. So we'd be providing them $10,000 of financial support towards their projects. And we are currently working with them on drainage matters as well. And sorry, Nick, I don't know if it's been scoped yet, but we're looking at getting some of the drainage work to figuring out what's happening over there and why we're getting some ponding. Ideally, we can find the solution and fix it internally with our staff here. So happy to have any questions. So.
Any questions? I just had one. When we were getting prices for paving, we have Lavis kind of lined up. Did we get more than one quote or not?
We got a quote from Lavis and they got a quote. Nick, can you, sorry, do you remember? They were the company. Great, thank you. Yeah. So we did have 2. Yeah.
All right. Well, I always like get another quote. Any other questions? Okay, I got a recommendation here then that Municipality of West Perth approve the new Ketterson Park capital expense of up to $85,000 to be funded from reserve for parks and recreation for the pavilion electrical upgrades of $10,000, parking lot paving $65,000, and then additional support.
Pardon, please.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. My hand has been up the whole time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Perhaps this is a silly question, but if anyone has ever done the wiring on their own home before, they would know better than to run everything through one circuit breaker. If the electrical work on the Ketterson Pavilion, which I could add cost us far too much than it could have, had been done by somebody that knew that, this wouldn't have happened. I would propose that this extra $10,000 cost comes out of whoever we had do the electrical work in the first place because they did it wrong. That's a ridiculous reason to need $10,000 worth of repairs. We spent what, $900,000 on this pavilion and they did the electrical work wrong? Does that sound sane to anybody else that could possibly hear that sentence?
I guess the only thing that I could say, Andrew, is they probably weren't aware of the usage that was going to be used there. Like most of that at the pavilion is basically lights, and the only time that I think we have an issue with blowing breakers is when the fair's on and we get 10 or 15 people with cabs giving them a a shampoo and a wash and they're drying them. So.
So presumably whoever was doing the electrical work for our fair pavilion was unaware of the fair? Again, it seems like a ridiculous reason to need $10,000 worth of repairs. If I had any recommendation, it would be go after the people that did the electrical work in the first case and make them pay for it. They did it wrong.
We can take your point into consideration and staff can look into it, I guess, you know.
I think what I can say at this point is 10,000 we're looking at as a maximum upset. In this point, we don't want to have to come back and ask for more money. So I'll say that's our maximum upset on this line item. I don't disagree. There was a mistake, and I'm not going to say that, you know, I don't think any of the staff are still here. But I think staff should have caught something here and found that. But you are correct that it only blows when we have these cattle dryers. So I can't say whether the electricians knew or didn't know or what at that point in time. I don't think the juice is going to be worth the squeeze to go after the contractor for the $10,000. So
I don't actually either. I just wanted to make it clear that when we're approving contracts of this sort, we need to be a little more careful with the details going forward.
Understood.
Deputy Mayor?
Yep, through you, Mr. Mayor. I seem to recall that the design on this structure had been changed at least twice. So it's no surprise that something like this might have happened or has happened. And I think to CAO Hobson's point, the parties involved at the time are no longer here to answer for that, whether it's staff or the designer or the contractors. So unfortunately, we're left with having to make the corrective actions and move on to prevent any further problems.
Okay, anybody else? All right, I did read the motion, but I was looking for a mover and seconder for these expenses. So moved by Councillor Duck, seconded by Deputy Mayor Shandrowski. Last call for questions. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Next item then is Wendy's report on surplus 225 surplus report. So Wendy, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I didn't bring my mouse, so hopefully there's no feedback. So the report before you is the 2025 surplus report. The report kind of outlines how staff came up with the surplus of $348,415. Staff are recommending that the surplus be allocated to complete previously budget development project, which would be 2 development projects, reduce borrowing for the arena plant project that's ongoing, and then to support the park pavilion electrical and parking lot works that was just discussed, and then hold funds related to the OPP grant reconciliation. And so in the resolution, it breaks down each of those and the amounts requested. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Any questions for Wendy on what we're doing with the surplus? Deputy Mayor again?
Through you, your worship. Thanks, Wendy, for the report. On the $100,000 that's being applied towards development projects and transferred to the reserve for transportation roads, can you provide a bit more detail about which specific projects are being tabbed for that money and why?
It's cost sharing, right? Yeah. So if I can, I want to be very clear because I think this is a unique thing in West Perth, and I think this is a good thing and it's an economic development thing. So in the municipality of West Perth, it's been standard practice that when a subdivision comes in and there's a road that would potentially be shared with a adjacent developer in the future, the developer at that time will pay for the road to go in. West Perth will pay the portion that the adjacent developer would be on the hook to pay. And then that's where we implement 1 foot reserves. And then we don't remove those 1 foot reserves until that other developer comes in, develops that land, and then pays us whatever the money is owing. And again, that's a very unique thing to West Perth. It's a good thing, and I think it certainly drives development. And when we get developers in here from Kitchener-Waterloo, they absolutely love this. There are certainly some costs, and there's some things that I think as we get our legs under us a little bit more that we're going to be looking to change on this structure. But I just want to be clear that that's how this works, so everyone understands, because this is our cash dollars, cash that goes into this. So this is residual of some projects. There'll be some Wimple cost sharing. Basically, any of the roads where you're seeing final lift has not been done across some of our subdivisions here, and putting in a reserve for those. So I know Wimple will be an example, north of the highway there. And then I think we've got Henry. I think it's in Henry, sorry. And then sorry, I can't pull it up right now, but that's what it is. Yes, thank you. There'll be a Clayton one as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor McKenzie.
Yeah, sorry.
I'd prefer that with already over $6 million in that reserve, that come forward in the budget process, that when we are budgeting for those needs, for those reserves, that it's clearly outlined. That rather we would use that $100,000 to reduce the debt, similar to the next line item on the arena ice plant project, that goes to reducing debt. And the same thing with the $60,000 in the tax stabilization. If there was a surplus for this previous year, let's use it to reduce these debt payments that we have, as opposed to, again, putting it into reserves for future use. If we can reduce their debt, let's use it for that purpose instead.
Okay. Go ahead, Wendy.
So for the 2 development projects, they were on the budget in 2025, and they should have been identified as a carry forward project. Just through the final process, that's when it got picked up. And so that's why you're seeing it here instead of a carry forward project being contributed to the reserves. And the OPP one, it's pretty much a guarantee we're going to have to pay that back. And so that's just a timing between the province's year end and our year end where that got captured.
Okay, any other questions, comments? No? Okay, we have a fairly lengthy recommendation here that Municipality of West Perth approve the allocation of the 2025 surplus revenue in the amount of $348,415 as follows: $100,000 to be applied towards development projects and transferred to the reserve for transportation roads. $108,415 be applied towards the arena ice plant project to reduce the amount of external financing required and transferred to the reserve for recreation and parks. And $80,000 be applied towards the electrical and ag society projects and be transferred to the reserve for recreation and parks. And the remaining $60,000 be temporarily retained within the reserve for tax stabilization pending final reconciliation of the additional OPP funding received in 2025. We have a mover and seconder for that, Councillor Rose and Councillor Duck. Last call for questions. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. A couple items under correspondence there. Thanks, Wendy. From Maitland Conservation Authority and then the Western Lake Erie Regional Conservation Authority. If there's no questions, recommendation is that the Municipality of West Perth accept correspondence as information.
There is a question, pardon?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew. You need a bigger hand.
Well, you know what? I've gotten tired of using the hand. It doesn't work. So I'm just going to talk from now on.
That's fine.
Yeah. We got that letter from the wards earlier this week, and that was intended to be included in this week's agenda. I haven't seen it. And that should be.
That letter, we've talked about the letter from wards, and that was a closed session matter. And the letter was not addressed to, it was addressed to members of council.
Is there any chance I can find out the details of that discussion, seeing as I couldn't attend the closed session?
I'm sure maybe James or Dan can talk to you about the closed session.
Okay, thank you very much. I do, that letters like that concern me, so I'm looking to find out more information about it. Thank you very much. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay, no, that's fine. I need a mover and seconder. Did I not get, I had Ryan, didn't I? Didn't. Okay, mover and seconder. I'll get Councillor O'Donnell and Councillor Foster to deal with the correspondence. So all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Fullerton A's Fastball Club, Huron County Fastball League year-end tournament. The recommendation, this is a yearly one that we get. The recommendation is that the municipality of West Perth declare the Huron County Fastball League year-end tournament held by Fullerton A's Fastball Club at Ketterson Park at Ketterson Park on September the 11th to the 13th be of municipal significance, and advise the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario that it has no objection to taking place. Mover and seconder, Councillor Harold, Councillor Chessel. Questions? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And then a similar letter from the Mitchell Hawks. Yeah, we had two conflicts here. Recommendation is that the Council of Municipality of West Perth declare the Mitchell Hawks year-end slow pitch tournament held at Ketterson Park on August the 28th to the 30th to be of municipal significance, and advise the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario that it has no objection to it taking place. Mover and seconder for that, Councillor Chessel, Councillor Rose. Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Council reports, there's a number of bylaws here. We have 9, I guess, nine bylaws. Oh,
Is that 52? Or the Morello tree?
oh, that's right. We take that one out. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I just needed to flip over to the other page here. So yeah, okay. So the recommendation is the Council Municipality of West Perth give first and second reading to bylaw 48 through to 55 with the exception of 52. Does that sound okay? And zoning bylaw 327 on this 10th day of August. So it's everything, all the bylaws except for bylaw 52, because that one was squashed. So do we have a mover and seconder for first and second reading? Councillor Rose, Councillor Foster, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And then the final recommendation is the council give third and final reading to bylaw 48 through to 55 with the exception of 52, and zoning bylaw 327 this 10th. And
51 as well as just a first.
oh, and okay, so 50 exempt 51 and 52. We got that all clear. Moved by Councillor Rose, seconded by Councillor Harold. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Coming events. I'm not going to go through them all because there's a number of, it's getting late and there's a number of items here, quite a few. I do want to mention, I guess, August the 13th, which is Wednesday, is the Cromedy Ballpark Chicken Barbecue, and that's a major fundraising for them out there. I do want to mention about music in the park, and this one is going to be at the Ketterson Park again, as opposed to the Lions Park. The other one I think that I want to mention is the agricultural fair, the 4th to the 6th. And I know Lindsay has contacted you about working the booth in the arena, and I'll let her look after that. The question that I have, is there interest to put anything in the parade? Sometimes we do. I think we have the last 4 years, we've always had a float in there. Is there interest to do that again this year or no? Gee, I did know. Yeah, falling into fun, yeah. This is the last meeting before the fair, or I wouldn't have mentioned it. So we need to get some kind of direction. Phil's saying. Oh, Andrew,
I would love that.
you're gonna fall into fun.
No, I mean having something in the parade. I don't know about falling into fun. I don't like falling over. That hurts. But
Okay.
a float in the parade, definitely. That it representing us in the community, letting people see us do anything is important.
Okay. Again, I need a consensus here. I've got some that are saying, no, let's can it. And I've got one definite that we should do it. Okay, who wants to kind of oversee it? Like we gotta line up a truck or a tractor and a wagon. Right?
If council wants to do it, staff.
Well, staff can help, but you know, it takes a little bit of time to decorate it up. I'm just looking for somebody that maybe wants to head it. I don't mind helping, but we need somebody responsible to kind of figure out what we want to do. And Andrew's name? Well, certainly, usually we get together the day before at the township or at the municipal operations place and get something together. So, oh, I don't care. I have a trailer that we can pull behind the truck. I don't mind. Okay.
I will volunteer to do as much as I possibly can, and my kids will help.
Very good. Okay, so we'll leave it with Nicholas and Andrew. How's that sound? Okay. Then our next meeting here won't be till September the 8th. So that's notice of motion. And Deputy Mayor has a notice of motion.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to council colleagues. In advance of the September 8th, 2026 regular meeting of West Perth Council, I'm requesting to submit a notice of motion that would read as follows. Following the July 13th, 2026 BIA delegation that was made before council requesting permanent closure of Poppy Lane on a year-round basis, and following the posting of the BIA Statement of Operations as part of the audit report to West Perth Council, prepared by Seabach and Company for the year ended December 31st, 2025, that council moved to request that the BIA provide a budget report to council for information, sharing with council the BIA financial plan for the year-round activities they propose to conduct at Poppy Lane. The BIA financial plan will include a capital spending budget that the BIA intends to follow for capital improvements such as outdoor furniture, lighting, landscaping, decorations, and decor. The BIA financial plan should also include an operational spending budget on anticipated operational costs such as snow removal, portable public washroom facilities, and all other things that the BIA will deem necessary to hold their events at Poppy Lane on a year-round basis. This financial plan should also identify the revenue sources and any donation program that the BIA intends to utilize to finance the aforementioned, with the appropriate dollar amounts to be raised accordingly. And further, that this financial plan be submitted to West Perth Council for their information no later than the regular council meeting schedule for October 5th, 2026.
Okay. Yes, for the next meeting. Oh, okay. Yeah, right, yeah, but not dealt with until October, right? Well, it's a notice of motion, first a discussion at that meeting.
Correct. There'll be discussion at the September 8th meeting and council will be asked to vote on the motion.
Right.
And the motion asks for a report to come back to the October meeting.
Right.
So should council vote in favor of that, would be a timeline for October to report back.
Question from Councillor Foster.
That timeline doesn't have a BIA meeting in it. For them to respond between the two, they don't have a September meeting.
Then if the BIA needs to have a meeting, then they'll have to organize a meeting. I understand. I'm fully cognizant that their meeting is on the 7th, but I would like to, if council so chooses, then that's the timeline I've set out.
I think
in the
that's
motion.
That's an item that we can discuss at the next meeting when it comes up, and if we have to tweak it a little bit, we do have 2 meetings a month from then on, so if it has to be tweaked a little bit to accommodate their schedule, I think we could probably do that. Any other business? Okay, next one then is a confirmatory bylaw. And bylaw number 56, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of West Perth, be read a first and second time this 10th day of August, 2026. Mover and seconder for that, please. Councillor Rose, Councillor Foster, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And then bylaw 56 being read a third time and finally passed. Oh, yeah, Andrew, you don't have your hand up, but I'll take it as a, oh, he had his hand up. Okay, all right. Second, or moved by Andrew. Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Tronkowski, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And then the last one, a motion that West Perth Council adjourn at 10:31. Moved by Councillor Harold, seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. All those in favor? Opposed, it's carried. Thank you for your cooperation tonight. I knew it was going to